Hey, what's happening, everybody? So, welcome back to another live stream. Just here. There we go. Okay, we're back now. Okay, so let's listen in here and see what's going on.
Impacted for the positive for you and for the Ukrainian people. We appreciate your time today. Thank you. The sounds of sirens and shellings heard across Ukraine.
It's the biggest European invasion since World War II. The new warning from Vladimir Putin is thousands of people in Ukraine trying to escape. Stay with us.
All right, we'll go ahead and mute that. We will keep it right on screen here because we are expecting to hear something in the next couple of minutes here. Joe Biden expected to speak to all of us as a nation state. So we're going to be locked into that. And let's go over and take a look at what's going on with the crypto markets. I want to start with Apollo Inu. This is one I'm heavily invested in. Very interesting reversal here happening with Apollo. You can see here, look at this. This is the 7-day. We can see the 1-day here. So this thing bottomed out right down in here, like the 2-2 range. Everything tumbled so heavily. But look at this reversal here. Interestingly, it's back up to the 3.8 level pretty quickly. So it's still down 16%, but you can see that what that looks like on the 7-day. I mean, a really quick reversal here. We did top out about the 4.8 level. This was yesterday, believe it or not, before everything kind of shook out. We are, seeing a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of what's going on with the market across the board. Everything's pretty much red, but some things down a little bit more than others. Bitcoin here at 35.8 at the time of this recording, slowly reversing a little bit. Ethereum still down more than 10% at the 2.4 range right now. So let me know in chat if you're getting a clean stream here. Hopefully we are. I don't know why my internet's being a little wonky today. What's going on, Christine? How we doing? Peter, how we doing? Eric? All right, guys, here's what I'm going to do, too. If you want to come on and join me on stream, be happy to have you. I'm going to go over on Twitter, and you can see this tweet that I'm about to put out. We are waiting and listening in for President Biden to speak here, but let me paste this in, and I'm going to put on here. If you guys want to come join me and watch this live with me, and I'd love to get your take, come join me live on stream as we wait to see what Biden says about the crisis going on in, if I can type, Ukraine, crypto news, and sanctions. Okay. So there we go. Let me tweet that out there, and please come on over and join me. Your Pop, if you're out there listening, man, I'd love to have you on the stream. Pop, let me send you a message here, and I'll drop this into you if you want to come join me, man. Let me drop this into you if you're seeing this. If you want to come over and join, man, right here. So there we go. Rodney sent me a message. I didn't even realize that. And Rodney, I will bounce over there, man. Cryptobolics. I did ask him if he wants to come in. Let me send this over to him. New link if he wants to come join. And Rodney, I'll gladly jump on to later. I think you do a live stream for a while, so I wanted to stream it as well, man. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Here we go. Biden speaks soon. That link is out there. And, we got Sandstorm in the back. We're going to bring him in here in a second. All right, let's listen in real quick.
Aaron, right now I am actually inside the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C., perhaps the safest Ukrainian territory in the world right now, where the ambassador of Ukraine to the United States just gave an impassioned defense of her country and its ability to defend itself against a Russian aggression. The Ukrainian ambassador saying that Ukraine will be victorious in this fight, but urging world nations to step up right now, saying they want to see the entire gamut of U.S. sanctions that the Biden administration and NATO allies have been talking about for weeks. They also want more support militarily from the U.S.
All right, I want to break away from that real quick and say what's up to Sandstorm. Also, we got breaking news now. Ukraine has suspended the use of digital money. This is coming in from Troy. Troy, if you could, can you drop a link to me on the backside, either on Twitter or on Discord? Let me know where it's at. I'll pull that up. Sandstorm, what's happening, man? This is crazy.
Yeah, man, we were live last night, and then all this stuff started to happen. So we were covering it the best we could, and we were also giving, price action updates as all this was unfolding. But yeah, this is real bad. It's real bad for the world. Prayers go out to Ukraine. I don't really know what we're going to do to get involved, but I definitely, from my prior military experience, I can tell you right now, the entire European division of the U.S. forces is probably mobilized at this point.
Yeah, man, really, really frustrating to say the least. And obviously, it's one thing to see what this is doing to the broad markets, both crypto and traditional. But as you said, man, this is a much bigger issue right now in terms of just being a world crisis, and hopefully it doesn't reach that magnitude. With that being said, man, from a crypto perspective, are you doing anything different based on everything that's transpired here in the last 24 hours, or you just kind of
we watched it last night. I kept pulling up crypto bubbles to show the price action that was going on. One thing that we noticed was that most of the money in crypto has been moved over to USDT. USDT had giant volume compared to any other crypto out there, and I'm not gonna lie, I moved a lot of mine to USDT.
Yeah, it seems like the safest thing to do right now. And some may say, well, what if I'm upside down in some trades? Are you still moving assets that you're down in over to USDT, or are you only moving things that are up right now?
I moved pretty much everything, and as soon as the slaughter of whatever's happened to come to like a stable point, and the crypto market looks like it's going to stabilize back, and maybe right before it starts the uptrend, I'll put it right back into my positions that I was in.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, we're getting word. I don't know if we can confirm this. We're getting word that Biden may have delayed this an hour, that he's going to talk at 1:35 Eastern. I don't know if that's 100%.
I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, last night he had put out a statement saying that he was meeting with the G7 this morning. I'm not sure what's happened yet. I've been trying to keep up with the news too, but, just watching or putting stuff on so I could listen to it, and I don't know. I haven't heard anything from the G7 conference yet.
Yeah, we're seeing some images right now on screen, and he's supposed to be talking right around this time. So we'll tune back in. We've got a couple other people who want to jump in. So Kenshin and Joe, both of you guys are backstage, but your devices are not connected. So I can't bring you in unless you connect your mic and camera. You could turn your camera off, but your mic needs to be on, and then I could bring you in and get your thoughts. News just said 1:30. 1:30 Eastern, it sounds like, is when we're going to hear. Let's listen in a little bit and see if we can gather anything, and then we'll bring in some more people.
For Vladimir Putin to make this country ungovernable, right? It's a way to destabilize this country. So from the communications equipment to the infrastructure, this is going to be the warfare that we're going to see. And all of this, as I said, ratcheting up fears here in the western part of the country, just 50 miles from the nearest now NATO border. We are starting to see things be very tense. I heard my colleague Richard Engel talk about phase one. Well, phase one was what we saw in the last 14 hours. Now phase two seems to be Russian soldiers moving towards major population areas. That is going to cause an influx of displaced persons there.
And Cal, I think we have a piece of sound from one of the residents there in that western part of Ukraine. I want to play that and then ask you about it on the other side.
At the middle of the night, you are awake because everybody calls you that the bomb fell and there is fires everywhere. We definitely will need world's help.
Cal, walk us through that conversation a bit. You've been able to talk to people to some degree in the time that you've been there, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll mute that right now. I am hearing more and more about 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Pacific time that Biden may drop in and say something. So, Don, we'll bring you in here, man. Don, what do you have? What do you have for us? Don, you're live, man. What's going on? Okay, Don may be trying to unmute his mic. So a lot of people asking in chat, should we move all of our coins into USDT or USDC? I think it's a good question, and it really differs depending on where you are. But you heard Sandstorm, what he's doing. I, too, moved a lot of my money into USDT last night as well. I do have some things still in the market, but it is the safest way to go, I would say. But again, not financial advice. Yeah,
I can't tell you, Jeremy, because my YouTube channel is a partnership channel. Jeremy did not move any of his to USDT. He said that he was perfectly fine leaving it right there where it was because he has faith that the market's going to rebound very nicely. But, I chose to move all of mine to USDT. So it really comes down to personal decision.
100%, man. And, I think what Jeremy's probably thinking, I think it's a good point. It's, we always talk about how crypto and Bitcoin in particular are a hedge against inflation. You would certainly seem to think that this would drive inflation higher, and maybe, not today, obviously, or tomorrow, but a little bit down the line, a couple months from now. Could Bitcoin have a potential run because of all of this? Could a lot of people move their money into Bitcoin? You've got to put your money somewhere, right?
Absolutely. And I think that this is going to be basically quite bearish over the next few weeks as this thing develops. And, when things start stabilizing, when you see the entire market turn around, I'm not going to say that there's going to be a big bull run, but the potential for one is very possible, being that when the market rebounds back to where it was, it could continue on an uptrend. That's a very high possibility.
It's a good point. Sandstorm, are you buying anything right now, or are you just kind of wait and see approach?
I was buying up until last night, but as of right now, yeah, I'm kind of just holding all my money in USDT to let everything stabilize out. And then as soon as we start seeing, this whole situation overseas stabilize and the market kind of start bottoming out, moving back up again, I'll throw all my positions back in. So everybody's wondering if you are
I know Sandstorm's on the road a little bit, so he's dropped out a little bit. There he is.
Hold on.
Yep. And guys, we are getting word that 1:30 now is the time that Biden is expected to speak on the Ukraine front. And we'll see kind of what transpires. Some type of sanctions are coming. Obviously, whatever he says will probably impact the market one way or another. We'll have to obviously wait and see. We'll be covering it right here on the channel. I'm probably just going to stay live throughout the duration of when President Biden speaks. So let's see here. If anybody else wants to jump on the stream, I did send a tweet out, and I think Sandstorm will be back here in a second. But basically, right here, you can come over and join me. This is 9 minutes ago. So come on over, click this link. Make sure your mic is on. You don't have to put your camera on, just mic on. And I'll be able to bring you into the stream on the backstage part of StreamYard. So be happy to have anybody in who wants to discuss what's going on. And we are obviously watching this really closely. Let's listen in a little bit and see what they're discussing.
Exactly what we saw when he made that announcement with that rambling speech, when he made the war speech, railing against NATO and America, and then announcing a war in Ukraine. Listen, there was an incident earlier this week at Vladimir Putin's Security Council where the boss of his foreign intelligence agency, Sergei Narishkin, the boss of his foreign intelligence agency, a former KGB guy who's known Vladimir Putin for 40 years, he was dressed down by Vladimir Putin, interrupted, and then dismissed to sit down again. Now think about the impact of that. So even the inner circle, and Narishkin is in the inner circle, even the inner circle are treated like that by Vladimir Putin. Would you tell him the truth? Would you give him a clear picture of how this is likely to play out? And that raises the question, and people are asking the question, and it's an important one. What information is Vladimir Putin getting? Is he getting the right information? Are people giving him a rosy picture? Because he is the one making the decisions. So when you hear Vladimir Putin speak, and we've just heard a little bit more from him today, where he's talking in the days and weeks ahead, and just back to the people of Russia,
Right.
One of the crucial questions, of course, is will they continue to support him? Will they support what he's doing? Just think about that. The communities that are being split, the families that are being split by this war, will they continue to support him? And if he loses support because of the way this conflict goes, we don't know, again, it's the early days, if he loses support, how will he then respond to that?
It is heartbreaking to hear the impact of families being torn apart there in this moment. Keir Simmons for us on the ground in Moscow. Keir, thank you. And
All right, they're going to take a break real quick. Just shout out to Sandstorm here who's joining us. If you're not yet subscribed to his channel, come on over here and subscribe. He's putting out some great content. Him and Crypto Realist doing a fantastic job with roundtables. They've had some conversations with some devs already at a roundtable. So definitely some good content over here. Come on over and subscribe. We are getting some people dropping in here that want to join in. Again, Joe, Kenshin, and a few others. Make sure devices are connected, and I'll gladly bring you on stream. But I can't bring you on unless you're connected. So, Sandstorm, anything else on your mind, man, as it relates to all of this?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I appreciate the shout out on that, buddy. I've had you on for a couple of YouTuber roundtables, and look forward to having you on again. The developer roundtable was really good last week, and then all of a sudden this type of thing happened. So, what I was saying earlier before I got a phone call, my biggest position is Crow. So whenever I put my holdings back in, it'll be Crow again. But as far as all this pertains, man, we were preaching community unity with the developer roundtable last week, and unfortunately, this world circumstance happens, and Ukraine's being attacked right now, and everybody's trying to figure out what we're going to do, what actions are going to be taken. Well, you know what the saddest part about all that is? I got up this morning after, our live stream last night when we covered this stuff unveiling, and instantly I seen certain people just throwing shade and attacking other projects, and that's the last thing that we should be doing right now. There's a real war going on right now, and doing that type of stuff is just completely ridiculous.
Agreed, 100%, man. And we're bringing in Bradley. Bradley was with us earlier. Looks like you and Sandstorm were both on the road.
Yes, sir.
What's happening, man?
Out here making deliveries. Yeah, no, I've just been watching. I had to do some stuff. I had to get off earlier, but I was waiting for the president to talk. And then I saw it push back an hour, and, I got to do my stuff to keep myself occupied while I'm out here driving. So I saw you went back live, so I jumped on, and I saw Sandstorm, and I always thought it was funny that both of us are truck drivers and both of us are Brad.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
How about that? Hey, I want to bring on a listener out here. Khan, how you doing, Khan? What's going on? What are you thinking during these times right now? Khan, you're muted if you're trying to speak. All right, we'll see if he jumps in. Yeah, this is something else that's obviously at the forefront. Biden was supposed to talk about an executive order, or really, from what I gathered, it was a plan for cryptocurrency. I'm guessing that's pushed to the back burner right now.
I've the research that I've done on that's nowhere near the front of the table anymore.
Yeah, which completely makes sense. I mean, so we'll have to continue to monitor that. That would really blindside me if he all of a sudden talked about crypto with all of this going on. But we'll continue to watch that. That was supposed to happen this week, so we'll continue to monitor that. I'm glad you brought that up, Scruffy. Thank you for doing that, because that was supposed to happen this week. But yeah, this is something else that's kind of related to this situation, guys. I want to get your take on it. Russia is the third largest country in terms of holdings of crypto. And obviously, they're talking about kind of using cryptocurrency to blunt the force of potential U.S. sanctions. That'll be interesting to kind of see if that happens. And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like with the loom of Biden coming out and talking about sanctions on crypto. like, this will be in the forefront of everybody's mind if they're able to do that and bypass sanctions on, they're going to take that into an aspect, because that's never happened before. And now that it has, and they're seeing the implications of, what crypto has for, getting around sanctions and stuff like that, what they're going to do for putting them to keep that kind of stuff from happening.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man, because, Ukraine is actually number 6 in terms of overall crypto holdings too. So this is having major impacts on that front. Obviously, that is not as important as what's going on the ground there. People are losing their lives, losing their homes, and what have you. But we do want to interject and kind of talk about crypto as it relates to all this as well. But yeah, still waiting for Biden to say anything. Let's listen in here.
Just given how hyper polarized the political environment is right now.
All right. Bridget Bowman-Forrest there. Bridget, thank you so much.
Now, reactions from world leaders are pouring in right now. Many are calling on Russia to immediately stop its military action in Ukraine, and they're promising to hold Russia accountable in whatever ways they can. NBCNews.com editor Henry Austin joins us now. He's been tracking this part of the story that's developing today. Henry, what have we been hearing from members of the international community?
Condemnation for the most part, certainly in Europe, where the Belgian Prime Minister Alexander de Croo called it Europe's darkest hour since the Second World War. The French President Emmanuel Macron was critical, as was German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Boris Johnson here in the UK, said that, Vladimir Putin in Russia had chosen the path of bloodshed. So very strong words coming from all over the world. Even in Australia, the Prime Minister Scott Morrison called it unacceptable and egregious behaviour, while the Japanese Prime Minister and other countries have also roundly condemned the action.
Henry, there are protests that have been erupting around the world, too. Protests against Russia's actions, obviously. We've seen some pictures from Washington outside the Russian embassy there. Do we know sort of what's happening in other parts of the world and who's behind some of these protests?
They're Ukrainian citizens and some Russian citizens. You're right. They've been seen in cities across Europe, Madrid in Spain, Barcelona, Vienna in Austria, Oslo in Norway. And they're also citizens of those countries who are seemingly fairly upset with the actions that Russia has taken.
All right, Henry Austin for us today from the UK for us, monitoring some of the protests and statements that have been coming in from the international community. Henry, thank you.
Meanwhile, the U.S. and its European allies are watching Russian troops launch this assault against Ukraine. And now there are questions of just how far Putin is willing to go with this invasion. Let's go ahead and bring in Nola Haynes. She's a professor of political science and international relations at Pepperdine University. All
right, let's take a look at what's going on in the market here. And this has kind of been the same story all day long. Bitcoin's at 35.9 right now. Ethereum holding steady at 2,400. We are seeing a little bit of a reversal on these two from where they bottomed out throughout last night. But is there anything that Sandstorm or Bradley that you're looking at right now that in your eyes is a great opportunity, or are you still kind of staying pat? I know I asked you that, but asked another way. What do you think?
I'm sitting still on this, man. I think that we are potentially on the brink of World War III. So until I see something from the UN and President Biden on an official statement and what kind of action they're taking, even if the market does start to go up, I'm still waiting for another dump just because of what actions might take place. So, I used to be a very degenerate investor, but I've kind of changed my ways after losing on a lot, and I'm a lot more conservative now. So, but that's just the way that I invest. Now, Jeremy, obviously my counterpart on the channel, he's a lot more degenerate, and he just, he's letting it ride with the market. So it's really up to a personal choice.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I think it's all based on how much money do you have to spend, how much do you want to spend, as of right now, no one knows where the bottom is. So if you feel like maybe it's gonna go back up, like we always say, dollar cost average in, set up a thing, $5 a day, So, at least when as the next week goes through, over this week at $5 a day, you're catching, if it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, you're getting a little bit throughout the entire thing. So instead of just dropping it in one spot, you'll have it spread out, and that'll be your best chance for making any money without losing any.
Yeah, just from a technical perspective here, we do have support for Bitcoin at 30K. I also pulled up another article earlier that basically said at 30K, there are a lot of people waiting to buy. So again, we don't have a crystal ball, but just on-chain metrics from a technical perspective, we do have a lot of support at that 30K level, which of course we're not there yet, but that is something to watch, in terms of if we do continue to fall, that could be potentially the bottom, at least according to some of the articles out there and some of the technical analysis out there right now. So, of course, Bitcoin drives the whole market, regardless if you're invested in it or not. Bitcoin and Ethereum make up, roughly 60% of everything in the crypto market. So, just to give you an idea there.
I will say, even if the market does go down even more, you're going to have fluctuation as it moves down. It's going to be bouncing off of support lines. So there's going to be people that have buy orders set all along the way.
Good point. Yeah, a lot of people talking about 20K Bitcoin could be in the cards too. And I think everything is on the table right now. No question about it. Personally, I'm kind of with Sandstorm right now. I'm not really buying much right now. Waiting to kind of see what the fallout is after the sanctions are announced today. And
I can tell you this: the crypto market as a whole, when this thing does turn around, when this event over in Russia, Ukraine settles, and the market does reversal and start to come back up, there's going to be a lot of people that make a lot of damn money.
Yep, 100%.
A lot of money.
I agree. I want to bring in a couple other guys. Cryptobolix is in here. He's also got a YouTube channel, content creator. Jazz Royce, we're going to bring him in as well. And just get everybody's thoughts. Cryptobolix, what's up, man? What are you thinking about right now? What's on your mind? What are you doing as an investor?
As an investor, I kind of held my positions at this point, only because I don't want to hurt the projects I'm invested in currently. I'm not buying anything. I don't think it's the appropriate time. It's too soon to tell. We don't know how close it is to the end. They're saying now that within 48 hours, President Putin could potentially take the capital of Ukraine. I foresee that being a pretty bold move. I know that we're talking about potential cyber attacks now to the U.S., potential threats to our financial infrastructure due to us putting sanctions against Russia. So, I mean, there's a lot here coming, and I'm just going to kind of hold what I'm doing. I've actually swapped a lot of my Ethereum to USDT at this point.
Smart move.
Well, yeah, I swapped any of my blue chips to that. My altcoins, because they're such low market caps, I feel like if I was to sell them, I'd really hurt the community, and that's not my plan. I can survive. I want to make sure those projects survive as well. So. What about you? I'm just popping on now. What are your thoughts, real quick?
I could jump in. Jazz, I want to hear from you, though, man.
How you guys doing, man? What's up? Zach, Sandstorm, Cryptobolix, Bradley. Glad to be here, man. So it's a tragedy what's going on right now. And it's something that we kind of all knew in the back of our heads, that it was that possibility it can go this direction. But I was personally giving it the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, here we are today. Just like Cryptobolix, I am holding my positions. I haven't really removed much in terms of Ethereum. I only have a small amount of money left in Ethereum. I did take out most of that money prior to this happening. So now I'm just kind of sitting still and just hoping for the best at this rate.
I hear you, man. Are you like Cryptobolix, or are you kind of holding steady with the small caps right now?
Exactly. Just holding steady, looking to see some type of support to start maybe buying the dips, like little bits of the dip. And that's about it as of right now. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, I did pull this up earlier in a stream, and I want to get your guys' take on this. And basically, this is what's called the diffusion of innovations model. It's done by Everett Rogers, a theorist. I think it was back in the 50s or 60s. And basically, any new technology tends to follow this kind of bell curve, right? So given where we're at with crypto at 4%, we're basically just entering this early adoption phase. We're somewhere right in here, right? So I think this is important to make this point on days like this especially, right? Because we have new people coming in. I mean, heck, how many new people got in last week and then this happens? Don't let that ruin your hopes and dreams along your crypto journey, because this is a long game and we are all super, super early right now. And I know it's hard to see that. It's hard to focus on the long game right now with all of the goings on and where the market's been in the last 3-4 months. But keep this in the back of your head, because 10 years from now, it's a whole different discussion. Anybody on this stream right now who's invested, whether you're holding, whether you're moving into USDT, you've got a really great opportunity to change your life, change your loved one's life, and really do well, right? So your thoughts on this, guys, in terms of this model? You don't have to speak to this directly, but just kind of where we're at overall with crypto.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I feel like what you said is correct. We're still in the very beginning stages of crypto, and I feel like what's going on right now in the markets is kind of like what we were looking back in March of 2020, and everyone was like, oh man, if only I would have bought the dip back then, knowing what was going to come months later, would have been a whole different story. And now it's looking like history is somewhat repeating itself. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. I had done a video on it. That spike we had back in 2021, that drop we had in July, to pick back up in August and reach our peak at almost a $2.9 trillion market cap for total crypto. Yeah. And then, and just some statistics, we had a 3.7% growth in the month of January for the total crypto, which ended up totaling, we have now 306 million investors in crypto. Our adoption rate's 39.7 is the current adoption rate. And that's directly from Crypto.com's private investor club they have.
Wow. So there's so much more room for growth left as we speak.
Yes.
Sandstorm, you want to add anything on that front? Just overall kind of look from high in the sky.
Well, I'm making sure my signal's good. Can you guys hear me good?
Loud and clear.
Yep.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah. Like I was saying earlier before these guys come on the stream, I tend to agree with them. Right now, we don't know where the bottom is. And when it does bottom out and it starts on its uptrend, it very well could come right out of a bearish cycle into a big bull run, especially when it dips back, comes back up to where it was, and it could just blast right past it. I think that there's a very high probability for that to happen. And for if people bought in this dip that we're in right now, if it does go on a big bull run, people are going to make a lot of money.
I agree. 100%. Brad, 100%. And it's the bull run, I think, that we've all been waiting on since these last couple of months. Now it's going to be extra hard of a bull run from this current dip.
I could definitely see a bigger bull run coming than what they were expecting based off of the current market right now.
We do kind of see the narrative, right, that it is a hedge against inflation, and you would expect something like this would only exacerbate the issues of inflation that we have. So Cryptobolics, do you think this could eventually spark another bull run in crypto?
So no matter what, crypto is going to be adopted eventually. You have the smaller investors that panic sell. You have the larger investors that are moving out of businesses and things like that. Of course, Russia, we know they hold quite a bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other things like that. So maybe they've moved their money around as of right now to fund the war, and that's why it's decreasing in price so drastically. Also, the same thing goes with Ukraine. Do I think there'll be a bull run? Yeah. If this war stops within the next 7 days, I think the money will funnel back in and it'll shoot up pretty quick. If it lasts 6 weeks to, anything more than that, it's going to be an expense that's out there, and they're going to start pulling their money because I think we know that Russia is going to be mining or is mining Bitcoin. They had approved it and everything like that. Putin had said. So if that's the case and they're running mining operations, they could be doing it to just funnel the Bitcoin out of it and use it to, feed the war. So I'd like to see it stop quickly. If it stops quickly, it'll shoot right back up pretty quick.
Absolutely. Even if it lasts for like a week, let's say.
Yeah, 7 days.
People time to buy the dip, get their positions ready, and then boom, right back up.
Agreed. Guys, what we're looking at right now is percentage of the population, total number of crypto owners. Look at this. How interesting is this? Ukraine and Russia, 1-2. Now, this data is pulled from 2021, so obviously anything like this has an impact on global markets, crypto, and what have you. But even more so because of who's involved right now.
That's right.
With Ukraine and Russia, as we're looking at this, I mean, already 13% of the population, and this number could be higher. This data is pulled from last year. Invested in crypto in Ukraine. 12% of Russian citizens also invested in crypto. So, anything you want to add on that front?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a pretty high percentage rate. Yeah, I don't even know why they even went through with this war. I mean, I understand between Russia and Ukraine, they had their differences, but ultimately, what we're seeing is a huge global scale effect. Just to add on to what we had in the 2020s.
Putin knew what he was doing. He already knew. That's why we experienced the initial bleed. They hold, a lot. We're talking massive amounts of crypto, right? And they bled because they're going to fund this war. He knew what he was doing. And honestly, it is a form of market manipulation. Yes, I understand that they want the 1/3 of what are they calling them? Separatists. They want the 1/3 back because, of course, we all know Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union at one point, right? They separated at that point. Still 1/3 of that country wanted to still be a part of Russia, the separatists. So I thought he was just going to go back for that, right? But now we're hearing reports of him potentially taking the capital. This is much more than what we're expecting. And I'm hoping it doesn't cause a global war at this point. You can only do so much to somebody before other people have to start getting involved. If innocent people start dying, I think we all know what the United States is going to do. I hope to God the United States is going to do something about it. So,
Cryptobolics, that there was already an American that died. An American reporter was killed last night, and they have tons of civilians that are dying today. So,
yeah,
I think we are possibly on the verge of World War III. This is not looking good at all.
Yeah, I definitely, me and Brad, I probably share the same views on that, especially with the threats, because he actually made a direct threat to us with cyber attacks. So
he did last night. Yeah.
Let's I'm hoping, I am praying that this isn't going to take place, but if World War III does take place, I think it's going to be bad for everybody, all the economies. And then, of course, usually war is good for the economy, right? But in this case, in crypto, it's not. People are pulling their money out of crypto, and that's not what we want. I think, honestly, I don't see this going too far. I think that there's no way Ukraine's going to be able to stop them, right? We all know that. Russia has a very powerful army, right? I think Brad and I agree with that one. They have a powerful army.
Right.
Could this, Brad, do you think it could actually last more than a week, knowing that Ukraine doesn't actually have the proper military to stop them? I mean, they just launched air attacks.
Well, it depends on the NATO situation. From when I was in, we did a bunch of NATO operations when I was in the service, bringing in Romania and Bulgaria into the NATO. So I know Ukraine was wanting to join the NATO, and that has a partial reason of this is Russia's trying to keep Ukraine from joining, the separatist stuff and the NATO deals and all that. So that does play a factor into this, and being that NATO is going to protect Ukraine, obviously no action has been taken yet, and with Russia just bombarding in and taking over the entire country. But if NATO does get involved, you're going to see a U.S. aerial attack. You're going to see other nations come in with another aerial attack, and that could bleed over on the Russian territory. At that point, you're going to see an all-out World War III.
Do you believe that the U.S. would actually take action? I don't believe Biden is going to do anything, to be honest with you.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I'm just kind of waiting for his statement he's supposed to have at 1:30.
Yeah, I'm also waiting that. I got the news on out in the living room. I received this link to come in. Honestly, I'm really concerned. A lot of people, they don't understand. Like, I don't even think Putin understands the type
I'll tell you what
he's doing.
I'll tell you what I do know. I still have buddies stationed in Europe right now, and I reached out to them, and they said there are some planes in the sky, and they said I can't tell you any more than that.
Wow.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's tough to hear. And for those of you waiting to hear what Biden will say here, we do have a headline down there: Biden to announce new severe sanctions. We'll have it here once it pops up. But we've also got this news coming out in the last half hour, 40 minutes or so. Let me find the tweet. Well, they were talking about how much money has been liquidated. That's a little dated now, but here we go. Breaking: Ukraine has suspended the use of digital money. We just pulled up how big of an impact that really is to the global crypto market, considering how many people are invested, right? So this is what war does. I mean, this is why it has such a huge impact on the broader markets. Thoughts on this, guys, if any?
So when they say suspended use, are we talking they froze the markets there?
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually a good thing to stop the bleeding.
Now that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. They're stopping the bleeding. So now they owned. I think it was you showed that was it 12%?
It was like 12%. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's good. Like we look at any small. So I always think crypto is a community. We look at now. Brad's got an awesome show like the Roundtable, right? He gets all these developers in there to speak, and those are like bringing communities together. Essentially, we're everybody in here. Me, Brad, Jazz, and Humphries and Jake and all of them. We're all together, and that's the same thing with crypto. So let's say a developer owned 2% of the wallet and then pulls it, it crushes the project, right? Well, now we have Ukraine that holds 12% of the total market. So, and they froze it. So now they can't touch it. So I think it's almost like locking the liquidity, right? They can't run for it.
That's a smart take. That's a smart take.
Definitely,
so I'm okay with that.
No, that's true. That's a good point.
That is a good point.
At least that's how we're understanding it. Maybe if somebody has more information on this, I know Troy dropped this into me, but I would agree that this sounds like they're suspending it, which means it would stop sales, which could be a good thing right now. We'll see if we can get more insight on that. I'm going to drop this into a couple other people too, who may or may not want to join us on stream. Anybody out there, listening, if you want to come on and provide your 2 cents, we'd be happy to have you on. Just come on over to Twitter and you'll see it right on my page here, front and center. I'll even pin it up here just so it stays up.
And based off of my statement that I said a while ago, when I said planes in the sky, that doesn't necessarily mean that bombers or fighters. There's surveillance in the sky right now.
UAVs.
Like UAVs.
Yeah. Don't take that and go, oh my God, we're about to bomb. That is not what I meant. That is not what I meant.
I think we knew that. And if we did have like disclosed planes in the sky, I mean, it's different from a UAV to a regular aircraft.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's aerial eyes in the sky.
Yes.
Is a better description.
Yes, I think that's a better assumption. But I think I knew what you meant, though. I mean,
I just wanted to make sure I'll clarify that. Oh shit! B-52 is on the way. Not quite.
Putin's gonna address you next. Like, hey,
he's gonna come on the next round table. Like, So I want to ask you guys, everyone's opinion. What do you guys think when we have the next crypto bull run and everything kind of blows over and smoothens out? The storm kind of clears a bit. Where do you guys think we're heading in terms of Bitcoin's price and Ethereum's price up next?
It's a great question. I'll defer. Whoever wants to start.
I think actually, just because we were talking about it, I did find the article, the press release that they had announced. On Thursday, announced from Ukraine's central bank has suspended all countries' electronic cryptocurrency markets. So it's completely suspended. I think this is going to slow the bleeding. So I think maybe it'll drop a little bit from panic sellers. And maybe some other countries, but probably they completely suspended it. Is Russia doing the same thing? I think that's what we got to see next.
Gotcha.
Sandstorm?
I still think there's a potential to hit 100,000. Bitcoin hit 100,000.
Thinking the same thing, my friend.
100K this year?
Yeah.
I agree.
I
think so too, and I think if that happens, Ethereum's right around 9K. 10K, something like that.
I think it breaks 10.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that.
That would be amazing.
Real quick, guys, John and Jimmy, you guys are backstage. If you guys turn your devices on, I'll bring you on. I realize you keep coming in and out. Just turn your mic on, allow access over on StreamYard, and I'll gladly bring you in. So be happy to have you join us. But I see you guys have been sitting back there for a little while. Let's listen in a little bit and see if we get any insight, and then we'll see what we hear here
from the president here, and waiting to hear what punishment Russia will likely face for this invasion of Ukraine. What would you expect to hear from the president today?
Well, something less than taking Russia off the SWIFT system. It's the system for worldwide international financial transactions. There are billions of them conducted each day through the system. And without being on the system, Russia can't pay for anything, and it can't receive payment for anything, except through the back door in some fashion, which can probably only come from places like China. That's not going to be enough to keep the Russian economic system from collapsing. But though many people would like to see Russia taken off the system, there's a great deal of argument coming from no less than our allies saying they don't want that to happen. And there are two reasons why. They say, first of all, it will have a deleterious effect on their own economy, because they do a lot of business with Russia, particularly in the energy sphere, but not only there. And second, if we take them off the system now and Putin continues, what do we do next? Because we're not sending troops in there. We don't have any plan B. And so we've gotten a great deal of pressure from our own allies not to shoot this bullet now, but instead to wait. Putin knows this, and as a result, he's going to carry on doing what he's doing, and is going to do it slowly so that it takes its toll on Ukraine. Our Western allies get sick and tired of it, and we lose patience with it too in the end and probably disappear. That's from his standpoint. As a result, though, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to ask you about President Zelensky. He obviously now is a wartime president, and he has a military that is going up against one of the largest and best equipped militaries in the world. If you were an advisor to President Zelensky today, what military advice might you be offering him right now, given what he has at his disposal?
Well, like any military operation, when you're facing an overwhelming force, you have to have forces close to the enemy so that you can delay their advance. So you'd have forces right where they are now, in the circular around large cities, just to the west of the eastern provinces, and so on. But you'd also have secondary and alternate positions from which you can fight as you draw the enemy closer to you. Look, Russia's got just as many troops in the area as Ukraine has in all of its armed forces. So Ukraine's not going to be able to defend successfully if Putin decides to send all of his forces in. But what they can do, what Ukraine can do, is conduct their defense in depth, as I've just articulated, and make it extremely costly from Russia just to take the country over in the first place. And then, if, as and when they do, to conduct extensive independent guerrilla operations to make it even more costly for Russia, as they know will happen because they went through the whole business in Afghanistan some time ago. But that would be my advice, and I think that would be the advice from any military advisor.
I want to ask you one last question, and as I do that, I'm going to show our viewers some brand new video that we're getting in. This is of American forces in Latvia, which is to the north of Ukraine, north of Belarus, which borders Ukraine. And this brand new video is showing what we knew was going to be a fortification of NATO countries in that region, right along the Baltic Sea. As we look at this video, I'll ask you, what kind of risk does this invasion of Ukraine pose to NATO countries, to countries that neighbor Ukraine but are a part of the NATO alliance?
Well, you raise a very interesting issue. It's one of the reasons why we sent the Division Ready Force, the 82nd Airborne Division, there in the first place some time ago. It's important that we shore up the morale of our NATO allies. I mean, it's very dangerous for our allies in northern and in northeastern Europe when they see what's happening in the southeastern part of Europe. They're very much concerned that we will not defend them. And so this is a demonstration more than anything. I mean, we're not going to fight in Latvia. But it's a demonstration. Well, we probably are not going to, but it's a demonstration that we have made a commitment to our allies along the eastern edge, and we will continue to do so. But they're not going to fight.
All right, NBC News military analyst, Medal of Honor recipient.
Okay, so that gives a little bit more insight into what's going on, the latest here. We're still waiting for Biden to speak here. Should be coming up shortly in the next 12 minutes or so. At least that's the last update we got. Anything that you want to respond to on that front? Cryptobolics, I see you got something.
Yeah, so a couple things. Reinforcing the NATO and surrounding NATO countries, right, is always a good thing. Second, we're actually incorrect. Ukraine doesn't own 12.73% of the total crypto market. It's actually 12.7% of their population,
right,
which equates to about 5.5 million. I think they're like number 10. India is actually number 1.
Right.
United States number 2. Russia's number 3.
Right.
So I'm not sure if that's. I mean, yeah, it'll help.
But still 2 top 10 countries.
Yeah, it's just not nearly as much. Like India holds a lot, and then more than 1/3. India holds more than 1/3. We own 27 million users, and Russia's 17 million users. Ukraine is only 5.5 million users.
I'll make a couple of comments real quick about the whole military operations thing. Obviously, they're going to reinforce the surrounding NATO countries. The U.S. forces, they like to do a thing called show of force. So they'll probably end up doing a show of force to Russia to try to get them to back off before there's actually any attacks. If at any point in time the show of force is happening, and a show of force includes flyovers, opening bomb doors to show live arsenal, but they're not actually dropping anything or attacking. If at any point in time that any of those aircraft are attacked or shot down by Russian forces, then then you have World War III instantly. The one thing that we need to pay attention to that a lot of people, I've heard a few people mention it, but not a lot. What happened in World War II? World War II, you had the whole thing happening in Germany and in Europe. Way over in the Pacific, here came Japan and attacked us. We need to be paying attention to China.
Agreed.
Great point. Great points. And speaking of China too, that's something interesting based on the statistics of countries into crypto. And thanks for that clarification too, Cryptobolics. Those numbers aren't even being factored in because they ban cryptocurrency. But we all know people in China are still investing in crypto in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Now, some of them may have been kind of forced out because they were on maybe centralized exchanges or something to that effect. But that's another huge country. When we talk about the 2 biggest countries in the world, China and India, by far. So that's something also that has probably impacted the global crypto market cap leading up to obviously the things we're dealing with today.
What I was referring to was that, with Russia invading Ukraine, China really wants Taiwan.
100%. Yeah, and those reports have already been coming out in lieu of all what's going on right now in Russia and Ukraine.
Like I hope to God China doesn't make a move, but it's almost like it's prime opportunity.
That's what I was just going to say. It's the prime time. And Brad, you know this. In war,
it's
when
scary.
There is war, other countries get worked up and they want the same thing.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's like a big domino effect is what we're seeing. I see one of the comments say, let this remind us how important decentralization is. And this is a prime example right here.
Yep.
Me and Brad are going to start our own country.
Let's do it.
Our own crypto and everything.
It's going to be the Bollock Storm Nation. Is that what it's going to be?
Can Jazz and I be the first citizens?
Hey, let's do it, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, honestly, me and Brad work as a team, so I don't know, Brad. How do you feel about that? We can vote on that.
We got to have different pieces of parliament. That would be Zach and Jazz.
Okay, perfect. Fine.
There we go. They're showing some social media statistics here, so we're still waiting on President Biden here to speak. 8 minutes away, so hopefully we get some news here soon on that front. I'll go over and kind of take a look at the most recent news. If you guys want to interject and kind of throw anything out there you're thinking, feel free.
I think
Good.
I think that President Biden's gonna fumble his words a few times at least.
I would hope not. Like out of all the times we've seen it, this would not be the time for him to, you know what I mean? I hope he rehearsed it in the mirror a couple of times, you know, just we need
Oh
this.
my Lord, you guys.
Brad,
some uppers too, man.
You know, man, we're gonna do the thing, you know.
come on, man.
One guy's there like
Did you see, Brad? Did you see the clip of Tucker Carlson making fun of Biden when
Yeah.
Biden was giving his speech?
Yeah.
Tell me you didn't laugh so hard watching that.
I couldn't breathe.
It was so fun. If you can find it, I'm gonna try to find it. Tag me in it so we can share it around because that was one of the funniest clips I think I had ever seen. Is that a Red Bull?
Well, he might be making another video depending on how Biden does his speech.
Oh man, now they're gonna hop him up on drugs again. Make him talk right.
yeah, I think a lot rides on this thing we're waiting on from Biden, man.
give him lots and lots of oxygen before he goes on screen.
I like how he when he's reading the teleprompters, he goes end quote.
No.
That is
He reads like this whole thing and he's like, in the United States of America, end quote.
It just
And
as
it
long
starts
as he
to get like-
understands that he's
You know you're
walking
not
on a
supposed to read that,
tightrope,
right?
That's all that. If he understands of how big his words matter in this current situation, I can only hope that him and his whole team is like, yo, listen, Biden, everything rides on this speech right here, okay? Like, oh,
They need to get a stunt double in there.
a lookalike.
Yeah, lookalike. There's plenty of old white guys. We could definitely sub them out.
I feel like Ricky Bobby could probably give a better speech right now.
Ricky Oh, so
shake and bake.
No.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
So Peter Schiff, who's had some really, really interesting opinions on Bitcoin. He's been very, very wrong on cryptocurrency. In the past, he's saying perhaps the Fed is relieved that Russia invaded Ukraine, as now it has an excuse not to raise interest rates in March. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. But as far as excuses go, this one's hard to top. Gold spiked 1.5%. We can talk about that in a minute. And Bitcoin dumped 5.5%. All the people who are loving gold, man, they're finally able to cry out because it's been 11 years since gold has kind of had a better run than Bitcoin. But at least the first 2 months of 2022, gold is where you want to be. But Peter Schiff always cracks me up. There's some infamous tweets out there where like Schiff was saying, oh, Bitcoin. It was way early days. It was like,
Zach,
I wouldn't buy
is there
Bitcoin.
Is there any possible way that I could get you and Peter to debate on the show? That would be outstanding.
Oh, that would be epic. That'd be epic. he's been very boisterous against cryptocurrency, and he continues to look like an idiot. But that's all.
I love it.
All right, so let's see. We'll see if we're getting anything here. Okay, they're on commercial. You guys got anything?
No, this just emphasizes how important it is for cryptocurrency to really be that next big thing, because decentralization is really important right now. I mean, everything we have is currently riding on a speech and a potential for a war that could, God forbid, be something that's on a global scale. So this should be just an inspiration for people that were skeptical on cryptocurrency to start tuning in and understand the meaning behind why it exists. It's not just a quick money grab, but for the message that it's supposed to spread in terms of how we look at the financial institution in today's day and age.
It's a great point. Yeah,
I agree.
It's an interesting perspective, right? Because today it feels like this bleeding's never going to stop. But looking at it from a macro perspective, could this be a catalyst for why new people come into crypto? Because of the financial instability through the traditional systems. It's a good point.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Oh man, I hope we get word here soon. Again, open
doing that.
What's that?
That he's doing that last 3-minute preparation before coming out with the announcement. He's doing his jumping jacks.
There he is.
I'll tell you this. A lot is riding on this speech right now, because depending on what he says and how forceful or aggressive he talks, Putin could react to that.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think Biden's the one I want speaking. Can somebody else do it?
Let's go with the.
Can the
Let's go with
Macho
the stunt
Man
double.
Macho Man Randy Savage? I vote him to go talk.
Bring
Oh
the
my
Rock.
Lord.
The Rock. No, and even then, I
Bring
don't know
him
about
on.
that guy no more.
I could see Ricky Bobby getting up and says, "Russia, if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you."
Yep. I'm 100% in for that.
Hey, Bitcoin just crossed over 36, so it's
Okay.
actually moving up a little bit here.
Ethereum's almost at 25. I know it dropped to the 23s late last night, so
Yeah, it's got a little bit of upwards momentum, but everybody's still just kind of waiting to see what's about to happen today.
That could be just
you're
that
right.
bear trend setting in. You know, that bear trend where it dips and then comes up a little bit and
A
then
little
dips
bit.
again.
Yeah. We're like standing at the
And
edge of the cliff right now.
Those are also buy orders that are hitting too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. Good point.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. In my opinion, it's the time to take the wait and see approach right now, and I think that's kind of the overall consensus from all of us here. We're kind of moving money into stable coins, watching what's happening, and that's pretty much.
Hey,
all
pull up the crypto bubbles and change it to by volume and see if USDT still has the most volume right now.
Is it just cryptobubbles.com?
Cryptobubbles.net.
Net.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, Zach. I tried scrolling the screen while your screen was up because I thought it was mine. I was scrolling. I'm like, why won't this go down so I can look at the other coins? This is ridiculous. And then I realized that it's not my feed.
Cryptobolics, man.
Up there in the top left, the little menus there where it says market cap, you can change it to by volume.
24-hour volume.
Yeah, well, right there where it says market cap. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
everybody's still moving their money into USDT.
Yep. Here's USDC even over here. Look at that.
Yep.
That's a good point. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, when you pull that up, that's very telling of where the money's going.
Gosh.
Yep.
Wow.
No, the crazy thing is it's held on the ERC20 blockchain too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you can't blame people for playing it safe. Me personally, I made sure to just leave like a little small bit of amount in Ethereum just to see what other little micro caps might be waiting to buy in on when everything kind of stabilizes. But the rest, I just kind of cashed it out. I'm not going to lie.
When you usually pull this up on crypto bubbles, when you're showing the volume, USDT is never the biggest bubble by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah,
so
that says a lot.
Yeah, to see it that big, that shows where everybody's putting their money.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Let's see here. We've still got newscast going, but nothing in terms of a speech yet, but you're seeing some images here. Just keep in mind, I mean, obviously we're having some fun with this too, guys. I mean, you have to, life goes on. I mean, it's I don't want to make that sound like I'm downplaying the situation.
No, let's be real.
Up the situation.
Yeah, I already do that.
Right.
But
what's happening in Ukraine is tragic, and we all agree on that.
Absolutely.
100%. And it's obviously taken center stage. And then we could talk about crypto and what we're doing. I just want to, reiterate that this is the most important thing, and it has an impact on all of us and the financial markets. All right, let's listen in here and see if we're getting close.
I mean, so much has changed. We all woke up to the news that this happened at 5 a.m. this morning, local time. Can you just describe how quickly things escalated from your vantage point?
Yeah, I mean, Morgan, you're nailing it. Things turned on a dime this morning in a way that I think surprised a lot of people here. For weeks, we've been hearing the Ukrainian government downplaying the threat from Russia while Washington had played it up. And the Ukrainian president was very clear in the last few weeks he did not want a panic. He did not want to create a situation where people were fleeing to the border. And all of the explosions in the capital, where we saw Russian troops moving in, we saw an immediate exodus from the capital where tens of thousands of people tried to leave all at once, some of them making it as far as where I am here in Lviv, some of them making it as far as the Polish border, about 50 miles from here. Some folks, though, were unable to get out of the city. There's been a run on gas. There's been a run on the banks. And while all of that has been happening, Morgan, you've had these cyber attacks. So some folks who go to an ATM suddenly can't get money, and they're trying to get their families out. It is a very, very difficult situation for the civilians who live in Ukraine.
And Cal, I mean, Ukraine's government has vowed an all-out defense against Russia. How is their military sort of holding up against this Russian aggression?
Well, look, according to officials here in Ukraine, it's holding up well. They talk about an armored column that was taken out by Ukrainian forces. There was word from the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C. that a platoon of Russian soldiers surrendered to Ukrainian forces. I want to stress that these are early reports, that these are early numbers. We are 15 hours into a war, and undoubtedly the information that we have is either going to be wrong or incomplete. But we do hear that at least 40 Ukrainian soldiers have died. An unknown number of Russian casualties were inflicted by the Ukrainian army, according to Ukrainian sources, and dozens of civilians wounded. But again, these are the initial reports. The other interesting thing about the Ukrainian military is the announcement from the Ukrainian president that anyone who wants to fight the Russians will be provided a weapon and can fight the Russians. We have this call up of reservists. This is a country who for the last 8 years has been at war in the East. So you do have a lot of experience in some of those reservists who have fought along those front lines. It'll be interesting to see where they are placed, where they move. There's an airfield 15 miles from Kyiv that's been taken by Russian paratroopers. Is there a counterattack? How do they take that airfield back? It is those kind of key places that we'll see. And the Russians have been taking out command and control structures and infrastructure pieces. They want to make this country ungovernable. It's not clear how wide this invasion will be, but the purpose of it is clear.
All right, Cal Perry for us there. Cal, we cannot thank you for your reporting. I know you have probably barely slept, and you have covered every single twist and turn for weeks, and we cannot thank you enough. We appreciate you, man.
Now, the United States, along with its allies, swiftly moved to place sanctions on Russia after its military forces were ordered into Ukrainian territory. But can these sanctions actually slow Russia down? NBC News national security correspondent Ken Delanian is joining us now from Washington. Ken, severe economic sanctions are expected as a response to Russia's invasion, more than what we've already seen. Do we have a sense of just how much farther the U.S. could go?
On the sanctions front, it's up in the air right now, Aaron. What's being contemplated is dramatic, including up to and including isolating Russia from the dollar economy, which could have severe impacts on the Russian economy. It could also reverberate to the U.S. economy. But we also have very important new reporting at NBC News that President Biden has been presented with options for cyber retaliation against Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine, options designed to slow down Russia's ability to resupply its troops and also to make Russia pay a price, everything from turning off the internet to disrupting trains. This is a dramatic development, actually. I've been covering cyber issues for more than 10 years. I've never seen this kind of far-reaching proposal reach an American president. Whether Biden actually pulls the trigger on this is another question, but the American cyber warriors and cyber intelligence officials have been preparing these kinds of options for many, many years, and now they are presenting them to the president. It's designed to be options short of what would be considered an act of war, so things that would disrupt but not destroy, things that are designed not to hurt Russians, but to disrupt networks, but nonetheless would be a significant step and could result in retaliation by Russia against the United States and an escalation. And that's why there's a big debate going on within the Biden administration right now.
Well, Ken, I want to stick on that since you brought it up, and this is something that we obviously have not seen deployed before to the degree that you've just described. Any indications at this point to whether the president, this is something that he would pursue, or how much force there's behind the recommendation that he might pursue these options?
That is the big question. I just got off the phone with Senator Mark Warner, who's the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he was raising a cautionary note about this, saying that, look, when you start deploying malware, cyber weapons essentially, against infrastructure, you don't know the repercussions of that. And he's particularly worried about the Russians doing it in Ukraine, and it spreads to Poland and other places, shuts down hospitals. We saw that with the NotPetya attack that was attributed to Russia many years ago. And Warner was actually expressing a kind of glad surprise that we haven't seen the kind of massive cyber attacks by Russia against Ukraine that many people expected. And so he and others are saying, let's wait a second here. And so it's really not clear, to answer your question, what Biden will do and whether he will accept these recommendations. But there's another camp that says, look, we've been developing these cyber options for a reason, for just this kind of eventuality where we don't want to drop a bomb on anyone. This is not a kinetic action, but this is a way to punish an adversary that has violated international law and done something terrible. So that's the debate that's unfolding right now, and we'll have to see where President Biden ends up.
So, Ken, let's talk about the Ukrainians a little bit here. What can you tell us about the state of the Ukrainian military and what their capabilities are to defend themselves against Russia?
So this is an ongoing question right now, and the fog of war is clouding our ability to see this. I asked Senator Warner that, and he's getting obviously briefings from the CIA, and he said he didn't know the answer. He did say that he's been told that the Ukrainians are putting up a fight. For example, the Ukraine said they shot down 5 Russian planes. We don't know whether that's true, but we had reported in recent days that Ukraine's air defenses were not really up to snuff, and that's, I think, proven out. The Russians appear to have air dominance, and they appear to be taking dramatic steps to degrade the Ukrainian military. And Warner told me he believes that Putin's objective is not just to surround Kyiv, but it's to take Kyiv militarily, to essentially destroy the Ukrainian military, which would be tragic and dramatic. Aaron.
All right, Ken Delaney for us, monitoring the situation from our Washington bureau and reporting on these cyber attacks, the options that have been presented to the president. Ken, thank you.
You bet.
All right, so I do have another tab pulled up. This is the official White House YouTube channel. So apparently the live stream will take place here. So we'll keep an eye on both of these. Thoughts on any of those remarks, guys, that you had?
All I can say is, I'm sorry. You go first?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's real brief. I just want to say prayers out for those countries, man. I know that everything has been on a rocky start with this decade in general, and now we're just seeing things get piled on top of it. And like I said, it's just like a wake-up call, just a reminder of how some small, short-sighted actions can have such a large implication on the broader spectrum of things. So just prayers up to them. I hope they really get to some type of resolution. I hope Biden does not drop the ball with the speech, and we can all take heed of this situation and turn it into something more positive down the road. That's my take on it.
I like it.
I don't understand when they said Ukraine has shot down 5 planes. We would know, right? That's something we would know. Second, how was there only 4 Ukrainian soldiers hurt, but there were dozens of civilians hurt? Think about that. The civilians are getting injured, not the soldiers. So it just goes to show that this is going to be rough. If that's the case, and this is the start of the quote unquote death toll, your dozens. So that's more than 24. That's 2 dozens. Per 4 people that died, multiply that for X amount of people in the population, just doing basic like statistical data or math. It's scary. And I hope there's something that Biden says today that really sticks with the Russian president. Yeah. Or is there a way that they can just say, hey, they're giving guns to civilians?
This is wild.
All right.
Sorry about that.
I'll say this real quick. The economic sanctions, that type of stuff has went on for years. Anytime that a country F's up, fucks up, whatever, does something bad, you impose economic sanctions. I don't think economic sanctions are really going to do a whole hell of a lot in this situation. If he pulls the trigger on this cyber attack stuff and we do disrupt everything that Russia's trying to do, we disrupt all their communications, we kill their internet, all that kind of stuff, that's going to piss them off, and they're going to do something else other than just invading Ukraine. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and they have the capabilities. They have the nuclear capabilities. We already know that. They have they have a different heart. They have a different heart than we do when it comes to how we run our military.
This isn't going to be just cyber warfare back and you cut ours off, we're going to cut yours. It's not going to work like that.
The only thing that I see as the benefit of hitting the communications is, as Brad knows, that's the first thing you want to hit when you're trying to disrupt the military. You got to hit their communications and financial systems. Those are what you hit first, and then you go to war. If they can't communicate, then they can't fight back.
And speaking on that, because those are your first acts of war. If we cut their communications, we cut their financial ways to communicate and get their funding and get their troops movement and all that, that pretty much is saying that we're going to war. I mean, if we cut that off first, they're going to retaliate, which means that we're going to meet them head on.
And they already have communication systems that are in place if the internet's ever gone, if they lose their, any type of towers or anything that gives them their, type of communication that they have. There's still CB radios. There's still so much more that they can do off the grid.
Absolutely.
And they were already planning this. So for us to think that our sanctions are going to do anything, they already knew. They already planned this. They've been planning this shit for months. So if they really think that these sanctions are going to do anything, they're crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they really need to just sit down and ask them, what do you need? What is it that you want to stop this? And that's it.
There you go. Get right to the problem. There you go.
Yep.
That would skip a lot of unnecessary steps that they're taking right now.
I think you're right.
About to take.
I think you're right too, guys. I mean, Russia's prepared to play the long game.
Yeah.
No question. They're prepared to play the long game, and if you prolong it, they don't care. And I hope there's swift action here taken. And I agree with you, Cryptobolics, too. Cut to the chase. What can we do? How do we resolve this issue now?
Yep.
So
country's a business, and the worst thing you can do in business is take your time. Everything's moving. That's how business works. That's how this works. So in my head, if the United States of America, we're a business. It's run and operated as such. We have different business mechanisms that generate a revenue. We collect debt. We're an entity, essentially. Same with Russia. And same with Ukraine. If that's the point, then go, hey, okay, well, let's get a business proposal together. You tell me what you want, then we rebuttal with what we can give you. That's the way it should be. Lining up on the border, now attacking, killing. Oh, it's on right now.
Premeditated attack. Vladimir Putin has been planning this for months, as we've been saying all along. He moved more than 175,000 troops, military equipment and positions along the Ukrainian border. He moved blood supplies into position and built a field hospital, which tells you all you need to know about his intentions all along. He rejected every good faith effort the United States and our allies and partners made to address our mutual security concerns through dialogue to avoid needless conflict and avert human suffering. For weeks, we have been warning that this would happen. And now it's unfolding largely as we predicted. In the past week, we've seen shelling increase in the Donbass, a region in eastern Ukraine controlled by Russian-backed separatists. The Russian government has perpetrated cyber attacks against Ukraine. We saw a staged political theater in Moscow, outlandish and baseless claims that Ukraine was about to invade and launch a war against Russia, that Ukraine was prepared to use chemical weapons, that Ukraine committed a genocide. Without any evidence, we saw a flagrant violation of international law in attempting to unilaterally create two new so-called republics on sovereign Ukrainian territory. And at the very moment that the United Nations Security Council was meeting to stand up for Ukraine's sovereignty, to stave off invasion, Putin declared his war. Within moments, missile strikes began to fall on historic cities across Ukraine. Then came the air raids, followed by tanks and troops rolling in. We've been transparent with the world. We've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. I want to be clear, the United States is not doing this alone. For months, we've been building a coalition of partners representing well more than half the global economy. 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, to amplify the joint impact of our response. I just spoke with the G7 leaders this morning, and we're in full and total agreement. We will limit Russia's ability to do business in dollars, euros, pounds, and yen to be part of the global economy. We'll limit their ability to do that. We're going to stunt the ability to finance and grow the Russian military. We're going to impose major, and we're going to impair their ability to compete in high-tech 21st century economy. We've already seen the impact of our actions on Russia's currency and the ruble, which early today hit its weakest level ever in history. The Russia stock market plunged today. The Russian government borrowing rate spiked by over 15%. In today's actions, we've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen. This includes VTB, the second largest bank in Russia, which has $250 billion in assets. As promised, we're also adding the names to the list of Russian elites and their family members that we're sanctioning as well. As I said on Tuesday, these are people who personally gain from the Kremlin's policies, and they should share in the pain. We will keep up this drumbeat of those designations against corrupt billionaires in the days ahead. On Tuesday, we stopped the Russian government from raising money from U.S. or European investors. Now we're going to apply the same restrictions to Russia's largest state-owned enterprises, companies with assets that exceed $1.4 trillion. Some of the most powerful impacts of our actions will come over time as we squeeze Russia's access to finances and technology for strategic sectors of its economy and degrade its industrial capacity for years to come. Between our actions and those of our allies and partners, we estimate that we'll cut off more than half of Russia's high-tech imports. It'll strike a blow to their ability to continue to modernize their military. It'll degrade their aerospace industry, including their space program. It'll hurt their ability to build ships, reducing their ability to compete economically. And it will be a major hit to Putin's long-term strategic ambitions. And we're preparing to do more. In addition to the economic penalties we're imposing, we're also taking steps to defend our NATO allies, particularly in the East. Tomorrow, NATO will convene a summit. We'll be there to bring together the leaders of 30 allied nations and close partners to affirm our solidarity and to map out the next steps we will take to further strengthen all aspects of our NATO alliance. Although we provided over $650 million in defensive assistance to Ukraine just this last year, let me say it again. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East. As I made crystal clear, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory with the full force of American power. And the good news is, NATO is more united and more determined than ever. There is no doubt that the United States and every NATO ally will meet our Article 5 commitments, which says an attack on one is an attack on all. Over the past few weeks, I ordered thousands of additional forces to Germany and Poland as part of our commitment to NATO. On Tuesday, in response to Russia's aggressive action, including its troop presence in Belarus and the Black Sea, I've authorized the deployment of ground and air forces already stationed in Europe to NATO's eastern flank allies, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania. Our allies have also been stepping up, adding the other allies, the rest of NATO, adding their own forces and capabilities to ensure collective defense. And today, within hours of Russia's unleashing its assault, NATO came together and authorized and activated an activation of response plans. This will enable NATO's high readiness forces to deploy and when and where they're needed to protect our NATO allies on the eastern boundaries of Europe. And now I'm authorizing additional U.S. force capabilities to deploy to Germany as part of NATO's response, including some of the U.S.-based forces that the Department of Defense placed on standby weeks ago. I've also spoken with Defense Secretary Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, about preparations for additional moves should they become necessary to protect our NATO allies and support the greatest military alliance in the history of the world, NATO. As we respond, my administration is using the tools, every tool at its disposal to protect American families and businesses from rising prices at the gas pump. You know, we're taking active steps to bring down the cost, and American oil and gas companies should not exploit this moment to hike their prices to raise profits. You know, in our sanctions package, we specifically designed to allow energy payments to continue. We are closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption. We've been coordinating with major oil producing and consuming countries toward our common interest to secure global energy supplies. We are actively working with countries around the world to elevate collective release from the strategic petroleum reserves of major energy consuming countries. And the United States will release additional barrels of oil as conditions warrant. I know this is hard and that Americans are already hurting. I will do everything in my power to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me. But this aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are. Let me also repeat the warning I made last week. If Russia pursues cyber attacks against our companies, our critical infrastructure, we are prepared to respond. For months, we've been working closely with the private sector to harden their cyber defenses, sharpen our ability to respond to Russian cyber attacks as well. I spoke last night to President Zelensky of Ukraine, and I assured him that the United States, together with our allies and partners in Europe, will support the Ukrainian people as they defend their country. We'll provide humanitarian relief to ease their suffering. And in the early days of this conflict, Russia propaganda outlets will keep trying to hide the truth and claim success for its military operation against a made-up threat. But history has shown time and again how swift gains in territory eventually give way to grinding occupations, acts of mass civil disobedience, and strategic dead ends. The next few weeks and months, we harden the people of Ukraine. Putin has unleashed a great pain on them, but the Ukrainian people have known 30 years of independence. They've repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. This is a dangerous moment for all of Europe, for the freedom around the world. Putin has committed an assault on the very principles that uphold the global peace. But now the entire world sees clearly what Putin and his Kremlin allies are really all about. This was never about a genuine security concerns on their part. It was always about naked aggression, about Putin's desire for empire by any means necessary, by bullying Russia's neighbors through coercion and corruption, by changing borders by force, and ultimately by choosing a war without a cause. Putin's action betrays sinister vision for the future of our world, one where nations take what they want by force. But it is a vision that the United States and freedom-loving nations everywhere will oppose with every tool of our considerable power. The United States and our allies and partners will emerge from this stronger, more united, more determined, and more purposeful. And Putin's aggression against Ukraine will end up costing Russia dearly, economically and strategically. We will make sure of that. Putin will be a pariah on the international stage. Any nation that countenances Russia's naked aggression against Ukraine will be stained by association. And the history of this era is written. Putin's choice to make a totally unjustifiable war on Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. Liberty, democracy, human dignity, these are the forces far more powerful than fear and oppression. They cannot be extinguished by tyrants like Putin and his armies. They cannot be erased by from people's hearts and hopes by any amount of violence and intimidation. They endure. In the contest between democracy and autocracy, between sovereignty and subjugation, make no mistake, freedom will prevail. God bless the people of a free and democratic Ukraine, and may God protect our troops. Associated Press, Zeke.
So do you have any plans to speak with President Putin at this point? And what interactions have you had with the Russian government?
I heard the first part. Do I have any plans to speak with Putin at this point? And what?
What communications have you had with the Kremlin as far as military operations in Ukraine and making sure this does not spiral into a larger conflict?
Well, it's a large conflict already. The way we're going to ensure it's not going to spiral to a larger conflict is by providing all the forces needed in the Eastern European nations that are members of NATO. NATO is more united than it's ever been, and I have no plans to talk with Putin. Wall Street Journal, Tarina.
Mr. President, you didn't mention SWIFT in your sanctions that you announced. Is there a reason why the U.S. Isn't doing that? Is there a disagreement among allies regarding SWIFT and whether Russia should be allowed to be part of it?
The sanctions that we proposed on all their banks have of equal consequence, maybe more consequence than SWIFT, number one. Number two, it is always an option, but right now that's not the position that the rest of Europe wishes to take. Cecilia Vega, ABC.
Sir, sanctions clearly have not been enough to deter Vladimir Putin to this point. What is going to stop him? How and when does this end? And do you see him trying to go beyond Ukraine? And a second question I'll just give to you now. This statement that he gave last night, the threat that he gave, the West will face consequences greater than any you have faced in history. Is he threatening a nuclear strike?
I have no idea what he's threatening. I know what he has done, number one. And number two, no one expected the sanctions to prevent anything from happening. It has to show, this is going to take time, and we have to show resolve so he knows what's coming. And so the people of Russia know what he's brought on them. That's what this is all about. This is going to take time. It's not going to occur. He's going to say, oh my God, these sanctions are coming. I'm going to stand down. He's going to test the resolve of the West to see if we stay together, and we will. We will, and it will impose significant costs on him.
Will he go beyond Ukraine, sir? Do you see him going beyond?
Yes.
Two topics, just really quick. First, markets are down and gas prices are up. I know you always stress the difference between Wall Street and Main Street, but everybody seems to be in for some economic pain. How economically painful is it going to get for people in this country? And I do have one more question.
First of all, there's no doubt that when a major nuclear power attacks and invades another country, that the world is going to respond, and markets can respond all over the world. So there's no doubt about that, number one. Number two, the notion that this is going to last for a long time is highly unlikely as long as we continue to stay resolved in imposing the sanctions we're going to impose on Russia, period. What's your next question? I'm sorry.
The next question is, did you underestimate Putin, and would you still describe him the way that you did in the summer as a worthy adversary?
At the time, I made it clear as an adversary, and I said he was worthy. I didn't underestimate him. And I've read most of everything he's written. Did you read it? I shouldn't, I'm not a wise guy. You heard the speech he made, almost an hour's worth of speeches, why he was going into Ukraine. He has much larger ambitions in Ukraine. He wants to, in fact, reestablish the former Soviet Union. That's what this is about. And I think that his ambitions are completely contrary to the place where the rest of the world has arrived.
You're confident that these devastating sanctions are going to be as devastating as Russian missiles and bullets and tanks?
Yes, Russian bullets, missiles, and tanks in Ukraine. Yes, I am.
Thank you, President Biden. If sanctions cannot stop President Putin, what penalty can?
I didn't say sanctions couldn't stop him.
You've been talking about the threat of these sanctions for several weeks now.
Yes, but the threat of the sanctions and imposing the sanctions and seeing the effect of the sanctions are two different things.
Okay,
They're two different things. And he's going to begin to see the effect of the sanctions.
And what will that do? How will that change his mindset here, given he's
Because
attacking
we'll so
Ukraine? as we
weaken his
speak?
country that he'll have to make a very, very difficult choices of whether to continue to move toward being a second-rate power or, in fact, respond.
You said in recent weeks that big nations cannot bluff when it comes to something like this. You recently said that the idea of personally sanctioning President Putin was on the table. Is that a step that you're prepared to take? And if
It's not
not,
a bluff, it's on the table.
sanctioning President Putin?
Yes.
Why not sanction him today, sir?
Mr. President?
Why not sanction him today?
Mr. President, if I can, you detailed some severe and swift new sanctions today and said the impact it will have over time. But given the full-scale invasion, given that you're not pursuing disconnecting Russia from what's called SWIFT, the international banking system, or other sanctions at your disposal, respectfully, sir, what more are you waiting for?
Specifically, with the sanctions we've imposed exceed SWIFT. The sanctions we imposed exceed anything that's ever been done. The sanctions we imposed have generated 2/3 of the world joining us. They are profound sanctions. Let's have a conversation in another month or so to see if they're working. Yes.
Can I ask you about Zelensky? Sir, you spoke to Vladimir Zelensky yesterday, sir.
What's the risk that we are watching the beginning of another Cold War? And is there now a complete rupture in U.S. and Russian relations?
There is a complete rupture right now in U.S.-Russian relations if they continue on this path that they're on. And in terms of Cold War, that depends. You have the vast majority of the rest of the world in total opposition to what he's doing, from Asia to South America to Europe to around the world. And so it's going to be a cold day for Russia. The idea, you don't see a whole lot of people coming to his defense.
And are you, if I could follow up, sir, are you urging China to help isolate Russia? Are you urging China to help isolate Russia?
I'm not prepared to comment on that at the moment.
This is not looking good.
No. He's had his.
Mr. President, how concerned are you that Putin wants to go beyond Ukraine into other countries and the U.S. will have to get involved if he moves into NATO countries?
Well, if he did move into NATO countries, he will be involved. We will be involved. The only thing that I'm convinced of is if we don't stop now, he'll be emboldened. If we don't move against him now with these significant sanctions, he will be emboldened. And look, well, anyway.
And can you talk anything more about your conversation? Mr. President.
Why not sanction Putin directly today?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sir, India, which is a major defense partner of the United States, is India fully with you on the issue of Ukraine and Russia?
Does the Defense Department of the United States?
So India is one of your major defense partners. Is India fully in sync with the United States on Russia?
We're in consultation with India today. We haven't resolved that completely.
One more question.
Okay, thank you all very much.
My press colleagues certainly hungry for questions and answers.
Wow. All right, we'll interject here, and I took some notes. A lot to get to.
This is going to be a post AMA discussion, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. This is if you guys don't mind, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were a kid, right? And your mom threatened to put you in a timeout right? I'm going to put you, I'm going to take things away from you. I'm going to put you in timeout. Did that scare you? No. Dad grabbed the belt, cracked it a couple times, says you're going to get hit. What'd you do?
Scared the hell out of me.
You run under the bed.
Okay. These sanctions, if he really, we're going to tell in a month or two, let's have another meeting. So he's going to let this go on. He just said he's going to let this go on a month and see if it affects him. They didn't act in Swift. What is this guy talking about?
This had to have been an April Fool's prank or something. That's a month early because he could not have meant those words and just stand there boldly like that saying, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And the fact that he hasn't worked with China yet? What are you talking about? And he made a clear statement that he was not going to talk to Putin. How are you going to resolve this?
I don't think he knew Putin's intentions of what he was doing either. He answered, "Oh, I don't know."
I'm interested to hear Zach's take on this, but my take is that was the absolute worst presidential speech in an ongoing war that I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, I second that, Brad.
I agree. I mean, he went on the defense, and he needs to be on the offense. I mean, just to boil it down. I mean, some of the things he said, and I think we all are in agreement here that it's not enough, is that basically he said they're going to squeeze access to technology for years to come, which is not specific, probably not needed at the moment. Cut off half of the high-tech imports. He did say they're focused on fighting in Ukraine.
He used the word limit as well. He used the word limit, not stop. He said limit.
Right.
I got an analogy for you real quick.
Yeah.
This is like not having a lighter. You don't own one. You don't smoke. You don't do fires. None of that. But for some weird reason, you took a jug of gasoline and you poured it all over a hornet's nest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to see what happened.
So I want to get your guys' opinions on the whole SWIFT versus sanctions on the banks. He made it seem like the sanctions on the banks are as big or a bigger deal than cutting off SWIFT. What do you guys think?
I think the members of SWIFT didn't want to go along with the entire thing, and I think they couldn't come into agreement, so they began with these sanctions on the side. I think SWIFT is so much more impactful, but realistically, the sanctions were more limitations, not complete cutoffs, and that's what I noticed. They're not going to do. Do they really want to start war with Putin? Because he could drop a bomb and end half these countries.
And that's a wrap. It's like putting a Band-Aid on the situation, a small Band-Aid, if that.
I absolutely agree. He delivered a very mixed message when he said that, 2/3 of the world's countries are coming together and imposing these sanctions, but then they don't even impose SWIFT sanctions.
Or how about he goes, and I don't want the United States citizens to worry about gas prices. They've already gone up.
It's been... Oh, my God.
You got in and raised the prices of gas. It's your fault already, and you're telling me not to worry? I'm worried about people dying. I'm not worried about how much I'm paying at the pump.
Exactly.
What kind of statement was that?
This is...
Well, I don't understand why we're only protecting the NATO countries around Ukraine, but we're leaving Ukraine out to hang and dry and defend themselves.
And as I believed, I thought Ukraine in 2020 became a part of NATO.
No, not yet.
I thought it says right here. I have it up on the screen. It says in 2020 they became a part of NATO.
Well, then that begs the why? If you could ask Biden, why? Why are you protecting other NATO countries but not the one that's being attacked?
CryptoBolics, if you have a link to that, drop it in private chat, and
It's on Wikipedia. It's on Wikipedia. It's literally I'll snip the thing. It's the first thing that pops up on Google. You literally type in is Ukraine NATO member, and on June 12th, 2020, Ukraine joined NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partnership. So that maybe they're not. It's a program, so maybe they're not a part of it, but they're in some sort of something.
Well, I could tell you this: when we were bringing Bulgaria and Romania into NATO back when I was in the service and we did our deployments down there, it wasn't like a one-time thing. Like you have to go down there and test their strategic military operations, and that was ongoing for a couple of years because we had to deploy units time and time again to go down there and test their responses.
Yeah, and don't they have to come into agreements with nuclear weapons and whatnot as well?
That as well, yes. So maybe that's why I was saying earlier. I was saying Ukraine was trying to become NATO member. I don't think they fully completed everything.
I think you're correct, because it says here it joined NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partner
Right.
program.
They were trying to become part of NATO, but they didn't completely, complete it all.
So they're a part of something, but they're not.
That's why they're being left out to dry and defend themselves.
Hey guys, I want to ask you about this. So this came up kind of during the discussion, and then I want to bring in a couple different people who are backstage, so some listeners. We'll get.
And
their
I'll have
take.
to drop out as well in a minute after this.
Okay, let me just get your take on this, guys. Russia's
in prices as he was talking. So that's a good question.
Bitcoin up over 36, Ethereum back up over
25.
That was the one thing I was thinking of based on, and I think we all are in agreement.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Here, this isn't enough, but based on what he said he wants to do, would probably move them away from the U.S. dollar. What is that? Where does that leave?
I kind of leaves them like up, just dangling in the air, so to speak.
And yen and pounds. They already said that, right? I honestly can tell you, I don't think he didn't tell us anything. He said he was sending troops, didn't give us a number. I felt like that was more of a scare tactic to try to scare Russia, because he didn't give us any amounts of troops. He didn't let us know anything. He didn't tell us that, okay, maybe we sent a couple aircrafts and, is that enough? No. We don't know. And he didn't give us any, he gave us this looks like a rug pull. There's no data. There's no data here.
Based off of the way the military works, I can tell you this: you have your long-term bases in Europe, which is a lot of bases in Germany, bases in England, and places like that. What they have done is they've forward deployed troops and aircraft and all that into nations that are closer to Ukraine, which will be like Poland, Romania, and a few others. So they're in a closer position to have a response time if need be. So basically, it's like we're flexing on Russia, and if they decide to overstep their boundary, which basically the entire world is from what Biden just said, the entire world is agreeing that Russia's boundary is the Ukraine border, no further. So if they overstep their boundary, that's when we interject.
I don't understand. That was a flex. That was the weakest flex I've ever seen. When we flexed on Iraq, we told them how many troops we were sending. They knew everything that was going on. That scares the shit out of people. Saying that we're going to send some, you didn't tell me anything. Okay, maybe they're going to set up some FOBs, like the forward operating bases, to be closer, to have quicker response times. That's great. Are they doing that, though? Did he actually say that? He didn't say anything.
He said Latvia and I think one other country, Romania.
Yeah, it's all the east. So Estonia, Lithuania,
Latvia.
Yeah. I'll get the one right here.
It's just, again, that was the worst thing I've ever seen on live TV.
Yeah. He's been the worst president I think we've ever seen, ever. And I'm a Republican to heart, man. I am like super duper Republican, as Republican as you can get. And this is terrible, man. But with that being said, I actually have to head out. I really enjoyed being on here with you, Zach, Brad, and Jazz. I think you guys have bring a great gift to the crypto community, and please keep going. I think we're all
doing well, brother.
Yeah, we're doing all our things a little bit differently, and it's awesome that we can unite like this and talk about something that is really
affecting all of us.
Yes, and I hope you all, I hope we all grow, make millions, and this year is our year. I pray for the people in the Ukraine and any other countries affected by this.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Have a
Thanks for
Have a
popping
good day,
on.
man.
You too, Brad. See you guys later.
Take care, man.
All right, guys, we're going to bring on a listener real quick and see if they want to add their opinion. Is it Ahaja? Did I say that correctly? Do you want to speak?
I think he doesn't know he's on mute.
You're muted if you want to pop on. If you want to say something, the floor is yours.
In the meantime, I am going to start getting ready for work myself as well. Zach, Sandstorm, keep it up, guys. Love what you guys are doing. Especially you, Sandstorm, man. You blew up so quick in this past month, man. Congrats to you, man. Zach, you've been holding it down with Austin. I've been watching, man. Love
Hey,
seeing
hit me up with a DM, man. We'll get you on the channel, all right?
Let's get it going, man. Absolutely. You guys have a great day, okay? Thanks for having me on here.
Yep. You bet, Jazz. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
All right, Sandstorm. I think I'm gonna shut it down too, man. 2 back-to-back long live streams. I gotta get something to eat, brother.
I absolutely understand. I'm actually getting really close to my delivery as well, so I was gonna tell you about. I gotta get going here in a minute too.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man.
All right, man. Everybody out there, we'll continue to follow the story. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. See ya.